Mrs. Leary and Mrs. Seon is going to work with us today. So we're going to do our update on social emotional learning. I put a couple things in there that we had questions on last time to kind of bring forth some more information towards the board too. And I'm going to be reviewing those slides.
All right, so the members on our committee are a mix of teachers from various grades, the counselors from each building, child study team members, parents, and administrators. So those are all the names there. Abby, Seon, and
I'm Lindsay.
And just so you know, we've added, Lori Burke is going to be our parent representative on this committee, and also Rochelle Cipinelli from Janvier and Lindsay Gioeli, our counselors. They're both, one's back from maternity leave and one is new to the district, so we've added them in too.
So the vision of the SEL committee is to meet our staff and students on their level of need and support, just all around creating a healthy mindset for the staff and the students.
Okay, so one of the things that was on the initial plan for the strategic plan was that there was going to be screeners for the students. So the DOE put stuff out, I think it was about 18 months to 2 years ago that there was going to be screeners. After having training on that and everything, they're not requiring screeners for our level students in this district. So our thought was, okay, so we're going to need some kind of data sources of why are we making decisions here for our students in Franklin Township, and what are we going to be looking at? So one thing is we really need to keep ourselves up to date on what is happening, not just in Franklin Township, but outside of Franklin Township too, and what is trending as best practice. So the CDC actually released a report providing data on the 10-year trends of behaviors and experiences related to the health and well-being of school-age children. And in this, it says really that connection that's made with staff and students is really valuable to things. And this is a really long report. I put it at the end of this as a link that you could go into, and it gives all kinds of information, but at the core of it, these are the things that the SEL team has pulled out. Staff need to make connections beyond instruction with our most needy of students. And it seems self-explanatory, right? The kid that comes in, they seem sad, they seem like they're not engaged. We need to make that connection. We need to increase school-based services. So here in Franklin Township right now, we have the CCC at Main Road that's giving clinical counseling to students in behavioral support, classroom lessons, and we have individual counseling in all 3 of our buildings. Increase school connectiveness, our morning meeting and our mentor program. So right now we have a mentor program at Ritter for many of our students that are needy. That in our plan is that we will move that down to both Main Road and Janvier as we develop through the strategic plan. Morning meeting is across the board. In the entire district, every single class has the ability to have morning meeting model. If it's first thing in the morning, I know in some of the schedules we have mid-afternoons, and in Ritter, through data, we found that some of those mid-afternoons are the check once the kids have kind of, they're middle school, meandered around in the morning and come up with a drama for the day. So providing meaningful professional development on trauma-informed knowledge and practices to staff. Trauma-informed, we're going to see later in the slides, we definitely have some that we've given to staff already, but these are, and I always try to ask my husband, I say, like, do you understand what I'm saying when I do these things? He's like, what's trauma-informed? Kids that have ACEs. ACEs are things that kids that live in a one-parent household, kids who have seen domestic violence, kids who have drug use in the presence of them. These numbers of our students experiencing these are rising. And in turn, with my next slide, you're going to see some of our data is showing that. So we said as a team, what do we track, right? Because the big question at the DLC and at the admin table, how do you track social and emotional wellness? You can't track how many kids are seen by counselors because all kids should get some kind of counseling or support by adults. So we decided that we were going to track discipline in the district and crisis situations. So we've observed as teachers, and I have a bunch of them here tonight that can attest to this, that in the past few years that we have seen some really elevated behaviors. Am I seeing nodding heads? Elevated behaviors in our classroom. So in the climate meeting, so each building has a meeting, if it's called the Spirit Committee or the climate team, we call them different things. In there we track what our data is with our students. In each building we look at what are we seeing, what is trending. crisis, aggressive behavior, unkind language? Are we seeing a lot of hits going on? And from that, what can we do to support our students? If we're seeing, for example, a lot of aggressive behavior in the building, then our counselors, we need them to go in and support the classrooms and do lessons for the kids on proper behavior with each other, proper socialization with each other. Giving our teachers, making sure that our professional development is supporting these types of behaviors that they're seeing in the classroom. You know, I've been in education 22 years. I've seen a lot of different trends that have happened. When I look at what's happening now in the classroom, we're seeing more and more of those ACEs coming into that classroom. We're seeing more and more of kids doing violent behavior in classrooms. Teachers going, what do I do when a kid picks up a desk and throws it across? We need to make sure that we know that our teachers have a plan and we know what to do to support that child. And not just the child, we need to make sure that we're supporting the families, because that's where the core is.
All right, so our strategic plan update so far since the last time we met. The SEL committee has been meeting bi-monthly. Our school climate teams have implemented positive behavior incentives like First Fridays, Best Version of You tickets, and Coffee and Good on the Bus. The SEL committee has planned monthly events for staff and students, and there's a calendar link there. We've planned professional development for staff, like Mrs. Morley said, the PD on trauma-informed practices we had. We provided lunch for all the staff on the January PD day, as well as infused a scavenger hunt that day. We had PD on threat assessment and crisis screening, both in November and January. Our subcommittees within our SEL committee have been meeting for professional development, calendar development, and meeting planning. And we've also been meeting to review SEL curriculums, and then the strategic plan update is attached.
Has that information.
Yes.
At Main Road, we have the Child Connection Center, or the CCC. It's a school-based counseling program that helps students learn important skills such as self-regulation, social skills, and problem-solving skills. The programs are individualized for each student and family. They can cover topics such as self-esteem, friendship and relationship issues, behavior management, stress management, fears and worries, academic progress, conflict resolution, social skills, and or adjustment to school. Currently, there are 32 students that are receiving counseling services weekly. Two students are receiving behavior intervention supports, which that makes up approximately 11% of the student body at Main Road. Teachers are also consulting with the CCC team for classroom culture and support. I know they've been going into classrooms also doing different types of lessons on whatever our character trait of the month may be. I think this month they're coming in and doing honesty lessons in the classrooms just to help support the students and the teachers as well.
So then our steps moving forward as we continue with the committee. We want to continue to plan district-wide events to support both our staff and our students. We're going to review the SEL curriculum options that we have with the entire committee and compare it to current standards. We're going to keep our communication open between our committee and then each of the school level teams that Mrs. Morley was talking about. We're going to continue providing PD for staff on positive verbal and nonverbal language in the classroom. And then the trauma-informed practices part 2 is coming. We're going to continue to update our webpage and display school events as they take place so that you can see what's going on as well. And then Mrs. Morley touched on this, but the Department of Ed doesn't recommend the screener. So we're going to review our threat and suicide assessment forms to compare them to the new requirements that were put into place. And then we're going to continue to review and update our SEL website link as needed. And then those are the resources.
Yeah. Any questions?
I just had a question.
Absolutely.
For the kids, I completely understand how we're trying to address those students that are having issues. What are we doing to address those students that are in those classrooms where these aggressive behaviors, tantrums, outbursts, wherever may be occurring? Because their educational day is being interrupted.
Correct. So we have procedures set in place if a child does have an outburst and depends on the level of it. The CPI team is trained in that for them to go in. Our goal, yes, is to get that child back into the classroom. Sometimes that's not where it is, but we have behavior plans that we put in place. Like I said, the counselors are able to go in and support the other students if it's necessary, supporting the teacher. A lot of times it's classroom management plans, going in, having a behavioralist observe the child.
Well, no, I'm not speaking about the child, I'm speaking about the other kids, the other students in that classroom.
Right.
Because they're being affected by those behaviors and they're consistent to a degree. Their education is being interrupted and they're being affected.
We're trying to minimize that by making sure.
Are we in any way, shape, or form communicating with parents when these outbursts are occurring in classrooms so that they're aware that this happened in their child's classroom and maybe you want to speak to them, or if they hear something at home about it?
I mean, if it's an individual basis, if that's a necessary thing, we can't discuss another child's discipline or another child's actions.
Parents aware of.
I can speak in my building. That hasn't come to the committee as something for us to do, but in my building, if there's an incident like that, usually what a recommendation would be to have a morning meeting after that to discuss how we're going to move forward as a class. We've often had counselors come in and meet with the class if something that's happened, to talk to the students. Individually, if kids are upset over it, yes, I've definitely reached out to parents and said things have happened. Usually the teacher level does that because like of dojo and things like that, getting quick communication. Depends on the level. I can honestly say, Michelle, as a whole, usually it's a smaller class that things like that happen to at my level. At the lower level, I know when we're in kindergarten, sometimes that's a little bit different, but having that meeting with the kids and making sure that they're okay, and then, yes, communicating to the parents that there was something that happened in the classroom. If it's specifically to other kids, because sometimes an outburst could be to another student, that would need a phone call. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
I just want to commend you guys and your committee. I truly feel that our kids can't academically grow until their social and emotional needs are met, and you're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, I think, thank you so much. My team is awesome. I think when Barb asked that question earlier about the data, when you asked that question, like why, I think this is a huge part of it. I think it's a huge part of it. A lot of our kids aren't coming to school, especially in the lower end, ready to learn. I think they're coming with a lot. And I think that giving them the feeling of a safe place that they can learn in and building that relationships, I think anyone, I see a lot of educators at our table here, you know that a kid's data is going to grow further when you make that connection with that kid. And that doesn't matter what level they're at. Making that connection and that child will work as hard as possible for you. So thank you so much. Any other questions? Thank you.